We're your hosts,
Aaron Bacus
and Jason Kindler.
We like to sit down with our guests to hear their journey, their challenges, and how they impact the local community.
So grab a seat, tune in, and let's get inspired by Jacksonville's everyday workforce.
Welcome to Hometown Jacks. Man, I am excited for the podcast today to have my good friend Phill Tensley on. Phill, man, I haven't seen you. You get younger every time I see you.
I appreciate it.
What's your secret?
Coaching younger kids.
Coaching younger kids. Well,
No
Phill,
stress there.
Phill and I go back a long way because Phill coached my son Austin when he's in 3rd grade. Now he's in 10th grade. And Phill had an amazing impact on him. And there's going to be lots of great stuff that we're going to talk about. And I'm going to talk about his family. I'm going to find out about every little thing about you.
Awesome.
That's good, all the good stuff. But I usually like to start these and get into it right off the bat. So I want to know right now. Now, Phill is a basketball expert. You'll find that out as we continue to talk. So, and he's an amazing coach. So I want to get right into the meeting. Tell me what your worst coaching moment is. Can you think of right off the bat? What is the thing that you think? Now, don't use names because I could be in that.
Right.
So don't use the names. But what's the worst moment that you remember as a coach?
Man, wow, jumps out. There's a specific incident that
Yeah,
happened.
I knew you would have
No,
one.
in High Point. We were in High Point, North Carolina.
With an AAU
With
team?
an AAU team.
Okay.
Yes, with an AAU team. And I remember I was maybe 23. It's like one of my first times coaching. It was a 3rd grade team.
Okay.
So these kids are 8, 9 years old. And I remember it was a state event, and I remember there was a kid who wasn't coming to practice, so wasn't getting much playing time. Now, I coach a lot different now than I did back then.
Oh, I know. We'll get into that.
And so
Maybe
all of a
lean
sudden,
little bit into that there.
all of a sudden, this uncle comes out of the stands and runs down and is like, "Hey, you're not playing my son." And I'm sorry, my nephew. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, your nephew hadn't been coming to practice. So that's why he's not getting in the game.
Right.
But I just remember, and I think I smelled alcohol in his breath. I think he may have been a little intoxicated. So I didn't really know. But again, the young 20 version of myself.
It startles you. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
I'm kind of like, is this really happening right here?
Yes.
But so that was one of the first instances where I felt like, wow, okay, this coaching thing,
it's real.
it's real. Like it's
Even
real.
when you're coaching little kids.
Even when you're coaching little kids. And so, I wanted to tell him, hey, bring your nephew to practice more and he'll get some playing time.
Right.
But that's why he wasn't in the game. But I'm guessing he didn't have that conversation with his dad.
Right.
He just wanted to see him play.
That's interesting. I can imagine that's a little startling, especially like you said, you were young, first starting out. You don't really, you're just trying to figure out the plays in the system, and all of a sudden someone comes and yells at you.
Dude, I was like taking
So
back.
how did you deal with that? Did you put the kid in the game?
No, no, I didn't. I just kind of brushed the guy off and just, it just kept coaching. And he eventually, somebody grabbed him out of the stands and pulled him back and like, dude, you can't do that during the game.
Yeah.
But no, I just brushed him off. I didn't really get into any altercation with the.
Of course.
With the relative
Well,
there,
that's awesome. That's awesome. I had a feeling you would go there, so I'm going to reverse it on you. And man, I know you've had a lot of great moments, and I know we've had a lot of great moments. What's the one thing that comes to your mind? Probably the best moment. I think it was probably a few years ago, maybe, that when you guys won all those championships or whatever.
Yeah. So the 2030 group, which those kids are now in the 7th grade.
Yeah.
When they were in the third grade, they finished number 1 in the state. And I tell you, that year was crazy because our point guard fouled out going into the 4th quarter.
Wow.
And we were down, I think, 3 or 4 points. We were playing a team out of Orlando.
And where was this?
This was at the convention center.
Okay.
It was at the convention center in Orlando.
Yeah.
And we somehow wound up rallying and winning that game. And, the coach he was peed off because that was their first loss. So he's peed off. And
Right.
he's saying that I'm like, dude, we didn't cheat. Like, we don't know anybody here.
Right,
like, we're
right.
traveling here playing, but that was their first loss of the season.
Right.
And we wound up winning. In the next year, the 4th grade year, we won a state championship again. There was more, like that game was insane. Guard got fouled, should have went to the free throw line to shoot 3. The game was tied.
Yeah.
The referee, what he does was he puts his hand up like he calls the foul.
Uh-huh.
And I see him glance up and I saw that the score was tied. waved off the foul.
Oh my gosh.
Waved off the foul. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, here we go. You know, a little bit more adversity, but we wound up winning in overtime.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So 2 years in a row.
2 years in a row back. And then we won 5th grade, but that was but again, I could go on and on and on.
Yeah.
But yeah, so 3 years in a row. And these weren't just we walked in and won these games. It was
a knockdown.
Oh man, it was a dogfight. And we somehow came out victorious, man. And
well, for those of you that don't know the world of AAU basketball, it is absolutely insane. And actually, when you're younger, Phil's talking about younger kids, you know, probably 4th or 5th grade, something along those lines. There's always a controversy of if you have a kid that's bigger or seems to be better, that, you know, he's too old. You know, you're lying and he shouldn't be in that age, which does happen a lot, doesn't it?
It does.
But that's always the default.
Right.
Thing whenever you're not winning.
Correct. And we never had that, you know.
Well, you've always played it straight when it comes to that.
Correct. And I felt like by, you know, following the rules and, you know, having moral and ethical standards.
Right.
But in AAU, that goes out the window.
Yeah.
It's like, what's going on?
Right.
And I'm like, well, dude, what are we teaching our kids here?
That is that's funny. I had a feeling you'd go there on those two things. Well, that's exciting. So tell me, I have your title is Regional Senior Sports Director, St. Johns County YMCA. You must be important, man. That's a lot of words for me to say at one time.
Well, when you're in the Y for 20 plus years.
20 plus years in the Y.
20 since 2000. So yeah, 24.
We're talking about the YMCA. Everybody knows about the YMCA.
Yep, 24 years with the YMCA.
Wow, that's awesome.
And a couple different states, a couple different branches, and so yeah, so you kind of get that senior title. That just means that I'm old.
Yes, well, I understand that.
That's what that means.
I'm getting there myself. Tell me about your family. I was fortunate enough to come to your wedding. I remember how long ago was that? You have a beautiful wife and 2 sons. Tell me about that. I do.
Yeah. So Keisha, my wife, we got married in November 3rd, 2020.
Okay.
Remember that? Yeah.
2020.
2020. It was COVID year, but you were at the
I was
the
at
wedding,
the wedding. Yeah, it was great.
It was
amazing.
It was a good turnout.
Yes.
So yeah, and then Caden, my 14-year-old, who just turned 14 this past Sunday. And
can't believe that. I remember when he's crawling. You know?
I know. It's like where's the time go?
Right.
You know, and
funniest kid in the history of America too, right there.
Yeah, dude. Like, and he would love something like this is something that he would truly enjoy because
well, we can play him the video afterwards.
All right. He's gonna be like, "Why didn't you break me?" I'm like, "It wasn't your time yet, son." So, and then Jace, my oldest, who just graduated from High Point University.
Oh man, that's awesome. What's next for him?
Dude, so right now he's working, but he's trying to get a job in his field. So he's got a gaming degree, which I didn't even think you go to college and get a degree in gaming.
That's very interesting, a gaming degree, but I think it's more of a thing than it ever has been.
I know. Well, he told me when he was, I think, 11 or 12, that's what he wanted to do. And I was like, dude, there's no way you can go to school for that. And he was just like, watch me.
Watch me.
Yeah.
Well, tell me kind of, I want to hear your story. I know you grew up in North Carolina. When did you start playing basketball? Kind of, you know, I know you're the sports director, but basketball is your passion. We all know that. Tell me kind of where you started, when you started playing basketball. Tell me a little bit about your family, where you grew up, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So I was actually born in New York. I was born in Queens.
That's right.
Yeah,
you told
born
me
in Queens, New York. My mom moved us down. I think I was maybe 6 or 7 years old. Yeah.
Okay.
And then fast forward, I didn't actually start playing basketball until I was like 13.
Wow.
Yeah, 13. And it was just one of those things where, you know, in the yard and then going to the parks, and then I actually kind of got decent. And so my 9th grade year, I wound up making the JV team.
Okay.
I went to Cummings High School in Burlington, North Carolina.
Okay.
And then played there. And then I'm getting ready to graduate high school, but it's not like now where kids got, you know, I wasn't like highly recruited.
Yeah.
So I came in one day and I saw a brochure on the table from Brevard College.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, okay.
Brevard in Florida?
And no, in Asheville.
Okay.
Yep, in Asheville, North Carolina. Yep.
Okay.
So I was like, you know what? This sounds interesting. Let me go check it out. So I saw the dates and they were having tryouts. I was like, Mom, I want to go. She was like, all right, son. So I drive. So Greensboro to Asheville is about 4 hours.
Yes.
So I drive up there, try out for the team. All right. I was like, I think I did okay. And then next day, I was like, Mom, I think I did okay, but I want to go back. It was 2 days. So I drove, didn't hear back. So I didn't make the team, but I was like, you know what? Dude, I'm going to enroll in school there anyway. So I enrolled in school.
Okay.
Winded up making the team. And so then I got on scholarship that next semester.
Wow.
So it was just, I just wasn't going to take no for an answer.
Yeah.
And then in a small amount of time, I got really, really good.
Yes.
And that transition is when I became a Tar Heel fan, because my coach, Dudley Bradley, he actually went to UNC. He played for Dean Smith.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we would go up there, play their JV team. I remember the day we played Carolina's JV team, Duke was playing UNC.
Right.
So Brendan Haywood, and that, just goes to show these kids out here that, that D1 level, because Brevard at that time was JUCO.
Right.
And it's a huge difference. I think that was my aha moment. Like, I see these guys getting off the bus, and I'm 6'2". These guys
you're a pretty good sized guy.
Yeah, but these guys are like 6'9", 6'10".
Normal.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, okay. I see the difference. Like,
what position were you playing?
So shooting guard.
Okay.
But I couldn't shoot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, how does that work if you're a shooting guard?
Well,
Was it your great personality or what?
Dude, it was the defense. So I realized at a young age, in order for me to stay on the floor, is I coach loved defense.
Yeah.
So I got great at that.
Okay.
So I was the guy that guarded the All-Americans.
Right.
Whoever the best players on the other team were.
Right.
Phil, that's who you, and so that's how I got in the lineup.
Wow. Interesting. Well, kids out there, if you're listening, defense is the way to get in. Is that what you're saying?
Well, these kids don't want to play defense these days.
Right.
Now.
Well, it takes a lot of work for
does.
sure. No, I remember you preaching that, man. That is really cool. I didn't realize. I don't know that I put all that together with your experience. So after you went there, that's when you got into the YMCA?
No, so transitioning. So it was a junior college. So 2 years there. Bill Chambers, who was the coach at Greensboro College, knew Dudley. They were teammates at UNC.
Okay.
So he's like, I got this guy, you need to check him out. So I went and I visited, and Greensboro was closer to home because my mom worked all the time.
Right.
She couldn't make many games up in Asheville.
Right.
So closer to home, she could watch me play.
Yeah.
And so that's what got me to Greensboro.
Yeah.
And then I did my internship at the Y. And so that's what got me in the Y. So my senior year, I did an internship, and the Y was at Guilford College.
Okay.
So most people that may know, Greensboro College, it's a small school, small private school in Greensboro between A&T and UNCG.
Okay.
Two, bigger D1s.
Yeah.
And so, but Guilford College was our rivals.
Okay.
But that's where the YMCA was. It was on the campus.
Okay.
So I did my internship, and then after a semester, offered me a full-time job.
And then there you go.
Yeah.
The rest is history,
The rest is history.
So you really developed your passion for basketball late in life.
I did. Super late.
That's interesting. It's kind of ironic when your specialty is to coach kids that are very young.
Right.
You're trying to get them to get their passion a little bit earlier than you did. Right?
Correct. Because I realized the younger that they're able to play at a high level and build confidence, then for where they go from there, it's up to them.
Right.
Instead of me where I did it late, because of, I look at myself, and had I had that same opportunity when I was in second, third, who knows?
Yeah.
For
sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So that's kind of my
Well, that's
philosophy.
really interesting. I'm glad you brought up the YMCA. Obviously, you've worked there for a long time. How do you think the YMCA is important to the community? I know what I know. I think it's extremely important, but how do you feel it's important to kids in the community, and how does it integrate in?
Yeah. So the Y is an amazing organization. Just the impact that it makes, brings families together. We offer a variety of programming, parents' night out to swimming lessons, teaching kids how to swim. We live in Florida, so that's a huge deal. For sure. So we offer programs for kids that don't know how to swim. We also offer financial assistance for kids that or families that may not have the ability to afford our services, because we are a nonprofit. Right. But dude, the Y is amazing. I mean, you meet, again, that's how I met you guys, and that's how.
And you're still based out of the Ponte Vedra Y, right? Or are you going everywhere now?
I'm everywhere, but my main office is out of it's actually the Brown Y now, because the Brown family.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. That's right.
Yep.
That's super interesting. I don't think I realized it till we started playing how many Ys there are in North Florida down to St. Augustine. What is there, like 20 buildings or 20 different ones, whatever?
And so Nocatee's new. Yeah. Flagler Health Village. Right. They built that one.
And why didn't they build an inside gym over there, by the way?
No, it was the partnership with the hospital, and they were, but it looks nice. It looks amazing.
It's amazing.
It's just not
really
practical for programming. And that's the basketball in me. I'm like, why can't we just build a sports complex? 10 courts,
We know, going through the basketball motions, you know more than me, but man, basketball courts inside are super important.
Oh, I know.
It's very hard to find. I
They're
know
hard to find.
you running the programs and coaching, like juggling that gym time is unbelievable.
Yeah, there's a lot of kids playing basketball.
Right.
A lot.
What is like, I'm glad you brought that up. It's been a while since I asked you, but isn't the fall the most popular time, or when's the winter?
Winter.
Okay.
So we're getting ready.
You're gearing up.
Yep, we're gearing up. We're
Okay.
gearing up. And so from all our locations, we'll probably have close to about 2,000 kids playing
2,000 kids in the winter basketball program for YMCA.
Between all our locations in St. Johns County.
That's insane. So your job is to, along with your team and other people, is to put them on certain teams, to spread them out. Like
the request, they have certain nights.
They actually get requests? Is that what you're saying?
That's what we're saying. Well, because it's a rec league. So
Yeah,
most
right.
of these kids, it's their first time playing.
Yes.
So they want to be able to play with their buddies.
Yes, of
Make
course.
it convenient for parents.
Yes.
And, you know, parents are juggling all kind of other stuff.
Right,
so it's
right.
like, you know, Tuesday nights, can that work for, you know, Tuesday night. And so that's really me putting all the, that's the Rubik's Cube of it.
Right.
It's teammate requests, coach requests, practice night requests.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Coordinating them with all the different, and then not to mention the games that fall on the
mention the
weekends
games.
is like putting everything there.
Yep.
Do you, so obviously we're going to, my exciting topic here is talk about junior pros. Phill started junior pros, which is an AAU travel basketball, YMCA. And how long has it been since you've been doing that?
So here, eight years.
Wow.
Yes, 8 years since I've been here.
So for those that don't understand, AAU is a higher level of basketball. So, you know, you have your rec league, which is generally for beginners, you know, learning your skills, but it's pretty easy to pick out which ones need to progress a little bit quicker, right?
Correct. And that's a great segue, because when I first got here, the program had maybe 700 or 800 kids in it.
Right.
And so I got here, I was like, man, we got all these kids playing at the Y, and there's no high level. So I started going into our rec leagues and finding those kids that were a little bit higher skilled.
Yes.
And started identifying them.
Yes.
Okay, that kid can play. Okay, that kid's got good shot. Okay, that kid. Because I remember, Austin was playing with Bill Grant.
Yes.
I think at the time, I think
Bill was
Cam
probably the
Tizzi.
first original coach that Austin had.
Wow.
Other than my friend Ken, who we were neighbors, that doesn't count.
Right. So Bill, because I think you guys may have won the Dieter Duffy tournament that year.
Yes, the Dieter Duffy.
Yeah.
Is that still rolling?
It is still rolling.
Oh man,
Yep,
the
it is
Dieter
still
Duffy
rolling.
is amazing. So junior pros, and this sounds normal now, but when you really started it, it was revolutionary. I mean, getting the YMCA to buy off on it, selecting the kids, creating a whole different schedule for them, so they played kids that were harder than them.
Correct.
I mean, that had to be difficult,
Grassroots,
Right.
man. And so I had a little bit. I'll say when I basically started at the Y. So the North Carolina Gators was an AAU club that I kind of learned under.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I got here, I kind of took a little bit of bits and pieces from what I learned there on here.
Well, and in Jacksonville too, I mean, again, I'm not an expert, but I feel like now there's way more AAU
it's
teams,
saturated.
even than like 8 or 9 years ago, when there really wasn't that many.
Yes.
Junior pros was one of the original ones.
Correct. And you know how it happens. Dad's got their kid on the team. He may not like the coach, so he goes starts his own program. And so that's happened over the 8 or 9 years.
Yeah, for sure.
Dad's, we can, and I'm like, well, it takes a little bit more than just starting a team.
Yeah, right.
And so there's new teams popping up everywhere.
Well, I always tell this joke, and I just think it's funny because, bringing an AAU team to AAU tournaments that's from the YMCA doesn't exactly strike fear into opponents because they see the kids walk in the gym, YMCA kids from this over here, this is going to be an easy lay down thing. And then 3 championships in a row, you're like, it's not so easy, is it?
Right.
These kids know how to ball.
Well, and that's the misconception.
Right.
It's like, they're a Y team. Well, we practice at the Y. Define Y team. Like, when you go back, like the YMCA invented the game of basketball.
Yes. Yes. Well, it's just funny having the logo on the jersey, and you can just see the looks on everybody's face. It's like, this is going to be simple. When's our next game? Right. I'm busy. That is hilarious. So you kind of talked, you touched a little bit. Tell me all the different programs, because you said volley, did swimming. What are some other ones that you're involved in?
So sports camp, that's a huge one at the Y.
During the summer.
During
right?
the summer.
Okay.
Yeah, we do different sports camps. We do multi-sport. We did a Olympic actually sports camp this past summer.
Well, tell me about that. What is that?
So we just did different Olympic sports.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
we did different Olympic sports, and
That's neat.
it was like a sample of each sport each day of the week. So yeah, kids had a great time doing that.
Well, those summer camps are huge.
Yes.
I mean, parents that need somewhere for their kids to go and they have athletics and multiple different Ys around the place.
Yes.
That's very important. I remember that growing up too. You know, I know your specialty, knowing you, is working with the younger kids. And when I say younger kids, I would say probably pre-high school, maybe even a little pre-middle school, even though you do coach middle school right now. What drives you to work with the younger kids? Because you have a special magnetism about you. Because I just remember with my youngest, they're all just looking at you, just waiting for your next word. It's like, how does he do that? My kid doesn't listen to me at all.
Well, that age group, they're still, wanting to learn. They're like sponges.
Right.
And so to me, they're easier to coach, because once they get older, they think they know everything.
Right, exactly.
And that's the difference. And so like I'll have my middle school team, like this past fall, we had academy running, and I have my middle school team, and I said, how do you guys not understand how to run this set? And my third grade team can.
Right.
And so I like that age group because you can establish the foundation. They listen. And again, it's not like I'm giving them a ton of stuff. It's just small. And then when they see that success, then that's when the buy-in happens. When that happens, it's like, it's funny. It takes me back to a game. Remember we were at YBOA at the Magic Classic, and we played the Lakeland Fire.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Lakeland Fire.
Yeah.
Tough team.
Dude, that was they were like our arch nemesis.
Yes.
And so we ran Carolina. I remember we had a chance to win that game.
Famous play from Phill, Carolina.
Ran Carolina. and I'm not going to say the player's name, but he came off the screen, he misses the layup, and he's just distraught.
Right.
And I just remember I was like, dude, it's okay.
Yes.
In that moment, the kids are like the whole weight of the world is on them. Mm-hmm. And for me, when I'm coaching that age, it's okay. They got to make mistakes.
Yes.
That's part of learning.
Yes.
And I used to tell them, you're going to have coaches later on in your life that are going to be way more harder than me. So at this age, you just want to make sure that they got that support.
Well, I remember that so vividly about how patient you were. And we touched on it earlier, like in the beginning of your coaching life, you kind of got animated on the sideline.
Correct.
When was your aha moment that you figured out that wasn't the right way?
Man. So I was left North Carolina, went to Chicago, left Chicago, went to Tampa. Right before I got here, I was maybe, I'm going to say my age, but it was about 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And I had my moment and I was like, dude, I don't have to coach this style anymore. I get the same results.
Interesting.
By not yelling, not the animation, not the antics.
Yes.
And then I actually realized that the kids feed off of that energy.
Calmness. Yes.
So I would tell them all the time, if you ever see me ranting and raving, then we have a problem.
Right.
As long as you see me calm, you remain calm, and we'll work through these things. Yeah, but it took me a while to really fully understand that.
And for those that don't know basketball, that's very hard to do.
It is.
And you absolutely have a skill with that. And the young kids just gravitate to you. They listen, and having that calmness, I mean, it's great. And reality is like third and fourth graders, really? I mean, is there any other way to do it? Right. Now, again, I'm probably a little hypocritical. I remember I was a parent yelling a little bit, but Phill, can't you just be a little bit more angry? Come on, Phill.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have a special talent with that. I remember that. The kids just absolutely loved you. Switching gears a little bit, society, everything's changed a lot. What drives kids these days? How are they different than what you grew up? What's your outlook on kids?
It's funny you asked that question because I told myself if I was to ever go back to school, I would try to get a degree in like sports psychology.
Right.
And I don't even know if they have degrees in sports. I mean, they might.
Right.
But trying to figure out the mental aspect of the game for these kids.
Right.
Because it is completely different.
Right.
Like how do you motivate a kid, or how do you get that dog in the kid, or that hunger when their fridge is full?
Right. Well, that's a really good point. That's a really good comparison.
And so that's the thing, and it's a challenge.
Yes.
I don't have the answer to that question. I wish, but I want to learn more in that arena because the landscape is changing completely.
Right. Even at the super young age, They're into social media. They think they got to be a star. Like, you're battling that, I'm sure, a lot now than you ever have.
All the time. Like Caden, like my son came to me last week and he's like, hey, can I have a videographer come out to our game and put a mixtape together? And I'm like, dude, you're not that good. I'm like, you're not that good. And so it's like, I'm battling that and he's just looking at me, but I love his confidence.
Yeah,
though.
absolutely.
I tell him all the time, dude, the day your confidence matches your skill, you'll be a D1 prospect.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Confidence is everything. And you could probably make the case that that's probably lacking a little bit. Do you feel like dealing with the parent aspect on sports has become more difficult?
Oh, man. There's a level of, and it may just be like not knowing.
Helicopter-ish type thing?
Yes. Oh, and then managing expectations.
Yes.
I think parents a lot of times, and I think that's why a lot of new teams are starting.
Yes.
Because they're like, oh, I'm pulling my kid because I don't like the coach. Or it's like, what happened to letting your kid work through that adversity?
Right.
Instead of now, no, I can go over here and do this and play over here. And then now we have, and so that's what you're up against right now.
Right. Right.
And that's why there's so many programs. But
no. How important do you feel sports is for kids? I probably know the answer, but I'd love to hear yours.
Yeah, so it's amazing. Like, I look back and see what sports has done for me. It teaches more than just skills. It's life lessons embedded all into that. You're bringing kids from all over to play together for one common goal.
Right.
And so that's another thing at the younger age I feel like is so important. These kids all want to be like the star.
Right.
Well, how can you take a younger, and it's hard for him at that age, right? Because I want little Johnny to dribble and I want him to shoot. I need him to pass it to his teammate and then trust in his teammate.
Right.
That's going to carry over longer later in life.
Right.
But so, yes, youth sports is amazing. I guess I wouldn't be where I am without it. And I think, I was reading somewhere where they said, like, all the top CEOs of, these companies, like 85, 90% of them played some sort of team sport.
Right.
And so.
Makes sense. And the YMCA does that so well. I mean, everybody's focused on the best and this and that on the higher level, but man, there's so much good that comes out of those 2,000 kids that are in your winter sports program that just want to go out and throw the ball around.
Right.
I mean, it's
just
simple as that, and that's okay.
We're talking junior pros is maybe out of those 2,000, maybe 20 kids.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty small percentage, and it's absolutely good just to want to go out there and play.
Right.
What do you feel? Do you feel like kids get burnt out a lot these days?
They do, which I'm a firm believer in playing multiple sports.
Yes. You were always, and I'm so glad you brought that up, because you were always really good at that. Me being a parent, feel like you got to constantly specialize in that. And actually, you were right with that. And from what I understand, it really prevents a lot of injuries,
it does.
Ironically.
Yes, it does. Because you're working different muscle groups. Right. And then it's the whole, let me miss the game a little bit. Right. These kids, like, playing a sport at a young age consistently year round, it's
too much.
It's too much.
Yeah. It's too much, and you don't really know what you want to do.
Correct.
You may start off basketball and like soccer or whatever the case is.
Yeah, I tell them high school. High school is when you kind of need to start narrowing down, like, okay, if you're a multi-sport athlete, that's when you kind of need to narrow down, like, what I really want to do. So. Multi-sport
athlete, that's rare these days.
It is rare these days.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Not many Deons out there, right?
No.
What advice do you have for parents? Like, you've seen so many kids running through. Your experience level is through the roof. What do you have advice for young parents that have that 6-year-old that's just starting out basketball?
Oh, man, let them fail. Let them try and fail, and just be there to pick them up. Find a coach that's nurturing or fits their style.
Right.
Because there's some parents that like the coach that yells and it's tough on their child.
Right.
So find the coach that best fits their child's, whatever their characteristics are.
Right.
Because there's so many coaches out there and everybody's got different styles.
Right.
And then just be patient, let them fail, let them try. And
I think the let it fail thing is such a big deal.
Yeah.
Right? And the age of helicopter parents or this or that, that's very hard to do. But we talk about failing forward all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's really what it is.
Right.
Fail is a negative word, but it shouldn't be. It's just
Right.
it's just an experience to get you to the next point.
Correct.
So if you don't make that shot, it's okay.
It's okay. Right.
We'll have another chance.
Bingo. Yeah, and that's how I coach. I'm like, dude, it's okay to mess up. It's okay to fail.
Yeah.
It's okay to not make, and that's how they learn.
I was thinking when you start talking about Carolina, what was some other plays you would always run? Carolina 13.
It was Carolina 13, odd.
Odd, even.
Yes,
oh my
odd,
gosh,
even.
I forgot.
Yep.
Literally, I go back to a game. I haven't seen this guy in months, and he's running the same plays. Nobody
Dude.
understands it's the same plays.
Yeah. Well, what's crazy is when the teams know the play and can't stop it.
Right. Exactly. That's a beautiful thing. It's like you're running that Carolina play. They don't know that. Well, we talked about a little bit you keeping your composure on the sideline. That has to be a mental process, though. That can't just come easy. Like, what are you thinking about when you're doing that?
Breathe, smile.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time.
Well, you're always good at smiling, man. You got the best smile.
That's what I say. If you see me coaching and I sit down and I cross my legs and I'm smiling, that means I'm infuriated. That means I'm infuriated.
That is hilarious.
And I'm bringing myself down.
That is hilarious. And it's just, I can't emphasize it enough because it's so hard to do.
It is. It took a while.
It's so hard.
Oh, it took a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're trained at that. How rewarding is it, man? Because the time that I've known you, you've had some great players that have played with you that are playing now great in high school, going on beyond that. How rewarding is it to see that you were part of their process from day one? And even if they're not playing anymore, you see them out and they've developed into good young kids.
Right. It's amazing. I actually think that's why I was put here.
Right.
Because when I see these kids and they're older, they remember me, and they'll remember a few of the plays. They'll remember the team that they played on. And, and it's amazing. What's funny is I'm looking and I think the oldest kids that I've coached now, they're in their mid-30s. When I started years ago. Yeah.
Do you still keep in touch with some of them?
Some of them I do.
Yeah.
I'm friends on social media with people.
Right.
But they're in their mid-30s. They're like adults now. And then now I'm coaching. I got a group of third, fourth. Now, fast forward 10 years, they're going to be high school, going off to college.
And every year you say you're going to stop too, right?
I keep saying that. Dude, I do. I say that every year, and then I miss it. It's like I got it. It's my sanctuary.
Yes.
I got to get back in that gym.
Does Keisha ever say, I can't believe we're doing another season together? Or?
She does. Last spring, she was like, I know you're not going to coach another season. I'm like, no, I'll take some time off.
Right.
And I took the time. I was like, see, you want me around being grouchy all the time?
Yeah, right. I don't know what to do with myself if I'm not coaching.
Right.
So you mentioned this earlier, being in North Carolina, going to school there. You're a pretty avid fan when it comes to Duke and North Carolina. I mean, what's your opinion on that? You're usually not too soft-spoken on that.
Man, I'll tell you, it's I don't know if you want to go down that rabbit hole, man.
I mean, I've never seen somebody, if North Carolina ever loses, and it could be by 20 points, you're justifying why that was wrong or something like that. You're pretty hardcore North Carolina.
There's no sports rivalry like UNC Duke.
Yes, I agree.
It's unlike any other.
Right.
And
have you been to games before?
I haven't been to a UNC. I've been to games, but I haven't been to those two.
Wow.
No,
okay.
No, I haven't.
So that's a bucket list item.
That is
for
a
you.
bucket list item.
Yeah.
That is. But it has to be at the Dean Dome. I'm not going in the Cameron Indoor.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not.
You would not go into the Dukies?
No. I would not go into Cameron Indoor. It'd have to be at the Dean Dome.
He's serious about this. He's being modest, but he's actually serious. He's probably sitting down with his hands crossed, looking down a lot of times during the game. So, and Phil's one phrase that, if you know Phill, you know what this is about. It's called easy living. Right. Phill is all about that. Now, Phill, you got to tell me what that means, because our audience doesn't know what that means, but I think we'd all be better people if we really knew what that means and embraced it.
Okay, yeah.
What's it mean?
Dude, it just means just laid back, relaxed, a chill vibe. You talking about how I went from that coach that was here to that was that pivotal moment. And I'll tell you, dude, I remember the day I was interviewing for the job in Tampa. I had to fly out of Milwaukee, and it was in February, and it was 10 degrees below zero.
Oof.
And I'm sitting on the plane, it's on the tarmac, and I look out the window, and they're de-icing the plane. Like ice chips are falling off the plane because it couldn't take off.
Is this safe to ride?
Right. And then we get to Tampa and it's like 75 degrees. And I'm praying. I'm like, please let me get this job here. And that was the birth of it, because I'm like, dude, it's amazing. I love Florida. And it was just a mindset thing.
Yes.
But that was the beginning of it 12 years ago.
You're famous of putting out some posts when it's 75 and gorgeous here and, it's sub-zero somewhere else.
That's right.
Like, where are you at, man?
That's right.
I know where I'm at.
That's right.
Well, part of easy living, what it means too, is Phill is so laid back. He could get in a car accident and lose the whole car and just walk out and like, hey, what's next? No big deal. You're so cool, calm, and collected, dude, when it comes to it.
You know what's funny? The first month that I moved to Chicago, I actually got in a car accident. And no lie, I sent Keisha a picture. Yeah. I told her, and I'm in front of the car smiling like this. She was like, dude, that's not funny. It's like, I'm glad you're okay. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I was like, the guy wasn't paying attention, but the car's total. But
I imagine Keisha's a little bit more high strung.
Yeah, looking around. Yeah, just a tad.
Yeah, she's awesome. She is awesome.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah. So we kind of went through your chronology, what you're doing with the Y, where you came from. We talked a lot about basketball, but you do a lot of different things at the YMCA. We kind of went through that. It's really a great organization. And I feel special that you were able to come on this podcast because he's had such a great impact on my son and me. It was fun being around Phill. I just remember the first times we were coaching. He's taking us through the AAU stuff, and man, we had some really good times.
We did.
Part of the fun of those basketball trips is when the kids go to bed and the parents figure all of the knowledgeable parents want to tell the coach on what to do.
Well, here's the beauty of it. Like, I mean, in all honesty, like Aaron, like you guys were a great group of parents,
right?
Because that's the other part of it that I got out of coaching because of that one incident. Yeah. And there were multiple. So when I left North Carolina, I didn't coach for like 7 years,
right?
Because I couldn't deal with the parents,
right?
And so you guys were a great group of parents,
right,
man. And it helps when you got a good group, of supporters like that.
For sure. Yeah. We always joke as parents, it's like we are the absolute best backyard quarterback, man. After everything's been run, we can break it down to an expert degree. Like, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? But that's really fun. Well, Phill, this was really great talking to you. I'm really glad that you came in.
Awesome, yeah.
I know this is going to be some great material for our podcast, and I know people are going to get a lot of value out of it. Really some great nuggets to parents out there in sports or just in normal life on what you've seen in all of your years, seeing a lot of different parents and some great advice. So I really appreciate your time.
No, thank you for having me. I
Absolutely.
appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
The Hometown Jacks podcast is recorded and produced by First Coast Mortgage Funding, located in the heart of Jacksonville. Do you want to be our next guest? Visit our website at hometownjackspodcast.com. We can't wait to hear your story.